reached his hand down from the sky. He blooded the lamb and he set it afire. He said, fear me again. No, I'm your father. Remember that no one can breathe underwater. Bend your knees and bow your heads. Save your babies, here's your future. Yeah, here's your future.
Yo, here's your future, folks. That's right. Aftermath continues on Delusions of Granular, folks. Our coverage of the new canon book, Aftermath. And honestly, folks, I think I've been saving the best for last. If you've been following along, folks, I've been taking the last couple episodes to give you my rundown of my non-spoiler review of the book, and then my spoilerific review of the book, the granular coverage of the book, and well, only half the book really, because now the final episode of our Aftermath is the Interludes, folks. Yes, if you've been reading this book, you know that this is it's a different structure for a typical Star Wars book. We get a lot of short stories interspersed throughout this. Short stories that are very reminiscent of what I covered a few episodes back in Little Canons. The short stories that have been running in Star Wars Insider, the fan magazine, have they've expanded, and now they are in Aftermath. They are these interludes that kind of take place that break up the main storyline. Let's talk about these now. These are not they aren't really a part of the main story that's going on in the book, but they are very important for understanding what is going on in the Star Wars universe post the destruction of the second Death Star. Let's talk about how they're broken up. So if you're flipping through the contents of the book, you'll see typical chapter breaks, but then you'll see these interludes, and they're titled by locations, different planets across the entire galaxy. We get some mostly, to me at least, unfamiliar names. We get planets by the name of Selukami, Nalol, Uter, but then we get some familiar places here, folks. We get very interesting locations. We get Corellia, Coronet City on Corellia. We get Coruscant, of course. We get Theed on Naboo. We get Tatooine. We get Bespin, Cloud City, and we even get a Force Awakens planet, folks. We get Jakku. Yes, that's right. We're going to find out as we're reading this book what is actually going on these planets after Return of the Jedi. So let's just jump into it. This is very interesting. This is, as I mentioned in the previous episodes about Aftermath, the book's main characters in this, not characters that we're really familiar with. We get only glimpses of characters we're really familiar with. We get Wedge, who isn't really the main character. He's more of the person that needs to be rescued. We get Admiral Akbar, who's kind of leading the charge of the rebellion as it moves forward post Death Star. We get a brief recording from Princess Leia, giving the universe a status of what's going on. That Darth Vader and the Emperor are gone, and we get very, very brief mentions of Luke Skywalker. Not even shown in the book. Just brief mentions as the only Jedi. So where's Han Solo? Well, we get Han Solo, actual Han Solo story in this book, in the Interludes. That's right. He gets his own story with Chewbacca called Hyperspace. Let's start there, okay? Because I know this is one of the interludes I was looking forward to the most because, I wanted to read about my favorite characters, the characters I know since the original trilogy. So we have Han Solo and Chewbacca, and they're in hyperspace. The title of this interlude is actually called Hyperspace. They're not on any planet, but they're heading towards a planet. They're heading towards a planet called Dasur. And they're, just kind of a routine mission. They're kind of looking for some Imperial supply lines, trying to figure out where the Empire's getting their supplies and trying to stop that. But they get a message from a long lost friend, I guess, of Han's, a woman by the name of Imra. Now, me knowing my canon or my expanded universe knowledge, I had to kind of do a quick double take on this, make sure that we're not bringing in some characters from the Dark Empire series, the Dark Horse comics that came out way long time ago. Thought that this Imra might have been a character that I knew in that book called Sala Zend. So it's actually not the same character, but I had to do a quick take there. Sala Zend was, I think, an ex-girlfriend of Han Solo. So I was wondering if they were bringing her back into canon, pulling her into canon. But no, it's just this woman named Imra. They don't really say what Han's relationship is to her, other than that she's an old friend. And she gives Han and Chewie some information that the home planet of the Wookiees, Kashyyyk, is under lockdown, but there might be a opportunity here to kind of free the Wookiees, that there's a changing of the guard. The Imperials are changing their guard over the planet, and this might be an opportunity to kind of defeat them and free the Wookiees. So, of course, Han, being the friend of the Wookiees, as well as friend of Chewbacca, best friend of Chewbacca, he has to decide, does he follow orders and continue on his mission to Dasur, or does he go rogue and try to free the Wookiee planet on his own? So, in a really a touching moment, Han decides to, of course, free his friend's homeworld, and he does so by kind of calling in the troops, calling in not the Rebel Alliance, but more his scoundrel buddies and other Wookiee refugees, and that's where the short story goes. It's basically Han deciding to either follow missions or do the right thing, and of course he, in a touching moment, he does the right thing, and he goes on this mission to free Kashyyyk, which I thought that was a nice way to bring Han Solo, continue on his story after Return of the Jedi. So good on the author of Aftermath, Chuck Wendig, to tell a brief Han Solo Chewbacca story. We'll be getting some more of those in the coming weeks as I read some more of the new canon novels, but it's nice to get a nice Han Solo thrown into this book, and as it is canon. So who else do we get? We get some other familiar faces in this. We get Dengar. Dengar is on, as I mentioned, he's on Coronet City in Corellia. Now Dengar, Dengar is the kind of the well, he's like the whipping boy of the bounty hunters, right, folks? He's kind of overweight, kind of wrapped in bandages. Not always looking like he's in the best of health. But he's kind of on this building, on this holoplex building in Coronet City, and he's fighting this much younger bounty hunter. It's kind of a fist fight almost, like. And this younger bounty hunter's name is Mercurial Swift. I thought that was a very interesting. I don't know if it's a real good Star Wars name, but I'm okay with it. A bounty hunter named Mercurial Swift. I think that's pretty okay. I was unexpected right? But he's kind of having this hand-to-hand battle, and it's raining out, and there's lightning, and they're kind of provoking each other, and Dengar is telling him you should join forces with the other bounty hunters, that we always work better as a team, and Mercurial is like, no, maybe that's why you've always failed, is because you never went off on your own. I like being on my own. And Mercurial kind of pulls a fast one on old Dengar, and says, hey, look, Boba Fett. And Dengar has to kind of turn his head, because, well, we are assuming that from EU that Dengar and Boba Fett were once buddies. We don't know if that's really canon or not, but Dengar kind of turns his head, and Mercurial gets the drop on him, and he's about ready to kind of kill off old Dengar, and Dengar is kind of telling him that things are changing in the world, that the New Republic is taking charge, and the Empire's fallen, and the old ways of the bounty hunter might be going away. The New Republic or the Rebellion isn't as tolerant to bounty hunting as the Empire is, and that one day, maybe in their lifetime, there might be a bounty on bounty hunters, and maybe it's time to kind of go legit. So interesting how they're bringing that in. It's will there be bounty hunters in The Force Awakens? Seems like they're questioning it right now, just after the fall of the Death Star. Anyway, old Dengar, he survives. He asks Mercurial if he's going to kill him, and of course, why would he? There's no bounty on Dengar, so nope, no reason to kill him. So interesting how they're playing this out. Different from the EU, obviously, but be interesting to see how they move forward. Is the New Republic going to kind of end bounty hunters? I don't know. A lot of steps in between, reading these aftermath interludes as well as the main aftermath story. There's a lot of steps before we get to The Force Awakens. So, we know that in The Force Awakens, not really a New Republic. There's the Resistance and there's the New Order. So it'll be interesting in these upcoming books to see, what the steps are that we're going to take to get from, the fall of the Empire to the rise of the New Republic, to maybe the fall of the New Republic to the rise of the New Order. I don't know. Interesting, right? So a lot of these other stories, it really does. They go into kind of the the fate of the New Republic itself. It's not going to be easy sailing once the Empire is defeated. There's a possibility that the New Republic could become just as bad as the Empire. And Mon Mothma, who's become the Chancellor of the New Republic, kind of her thoughts on this, that, she's trying her best to not become another corrupt government. But it's hard. A lot of these chapters, there's a 3-part interlude called Chandrila, and I believe that's Mon Mothma's actual homeworld. And it's kind of talks about, deals with Mon Mothma's aides and their struggles to kind of win the people over to the New Republic. So a lot of these planets actually felt safer under the Empire rule because, at least they had food and they had safety, even though they might have been, treated unfairly and held under an iron fist. At least they, knew where their next meal was coming from. So, it's interesting that the way they're taking this, it's not going to be an easy transition like it seemed to be in the EU. So, a little bit more, possibly realistic, more a sign of just the sign of our times, A lot of things have changed in our world since the EU was first written, so looks like Star Wars is going to reflect on that too. And war is not going to be easy, peace is not going to be easy. So let's see, what other interesting little stories I can tell you about on here. I don't want to go through all of them, but I do think that there's a lot of great little tidbits that we get in these interludes. We go to a planet called Sivarkos, and this is just a real small vignette of 3 characters: a Weequay, a Quarren, and a Wookiee. They're all slaves on this planet, and as soon as the Empire is defeated, they're free. What do? They have no idea. They've been slaves for almost all their lives, and now they're suddenly free because the Empire has fallen, and all of a sudden they're given a new chance on life. That's the thing we get with these interludes. It's just sometimes real brief glimpses of other things that are taking place in the galaxy, all over the galaxy. We go to a planet called Terrace, right? And Terrace is it seems like it's a little bit of a planet in upheaval. There's graffiti on the walls. There's ruins everywhere. We get a character by the name of Ublemon. He's a Kubaz, and I believe the Kubaz are, and correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but I believe that is the spy character that was following Luke and Obi-Wan in Tatooine with the long snout and the goggles. We have a character, his character, as well as his associate Vermia, and they are, they're kind of thieves and selling things on the black market. And what are they selling? A red lightsaber, but not just any red lightsaber. They're selling Vader's red lightsaber. That's right. Somehow they've gotten their hands on Darth Vader's lightsaber, and they're selling it to these possible buyers. These buyers are interesting. It's 3 people. They're known as the Acolytes of the Beyond. They're kind of a cult group. They seem to be worshippers of the dark side, folks. Or hints of the Knights of Ren possibly coming. I don't know, but they want to buy up Darth Vader's lightsaber, and of course the Kubaz, who is very suspicious of what's going on, wants to make sure he gets his money before he hands over the lightsaber. He asks them what they plan to do with the lightsaber, and one of the women, the buyers, she says, "Well, of course we plan to destroy it so that it can go back to its master in death." And it's like, whoa! It's like she's not trying to destroy it so that this vile weapon is no longer a part of the world, but she's trying to destroy it so it can go back to its master. Like, it's kind of creepy, So, there's hints throughout the way in this story that not everybody is happy with the fall of Darth Vader. And we see some graffiti on the wall. Darth Vader's helmet kind of stenciled on the wall, and underneath it, Vader lives. So, there's parts of the galaxy that are still for Vader, even though he's dead. But the real twist here in this story, I thought was really great, was they sell this red lightsaber to this crew, and the crew walks off, and the assistant asks Ublemon, was that really Darth Vader's lightsaber? And the Kubaz, he's like, why? What does it matter? We got our money. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Who cares, right? So, nice that there's still some deceitfulness in the Star Wars universe. Nice that we don't get a definitive what happened to Darth Vader's lightsaber. We don't know if this is Darth Vader's lightsaber. Quite possibly is another Sith. Who knows, right? But very, very interesting. So, along the lines, we get another chapter, Tatooine. Very interesting. We're all familiar with Tatooine. We get a character by the name of Adwin Charu, right? and he's in the middle of the desert on Tatooine. He's trying to deal with the Jawas, and the Jawas are very suspicious of newcomers. They don't really want to deal with someone they don't know. But this Adwin, he wants to see their higher quality merchandise that they don't show to the newcomers. They only show it to the repeat business that they get from people. So, he's trying to get his way into seeing more of the higher end quality merchandise they have, but not having a lot of luck. And this other character comes up to him, a man by the name of Cobb Vanth, and he's like, "Oh, I can help you. I can help you get to see, the hidden showroom on the Jawa's sandcrawler." So he kind of works his way, talks to the Jawas, gets them in back, and what's the merchandise that this Adwin was looking for? Well, he was looking for a set of Mandalore armor that was found out in the desert. Yeah, it doesn't say whose armor it is, but was it Boba Fett's? Did we find Boba Fett's armor, and is it being sold on a Jawa sandcrawler to this Adwin? Not sure. But as it turns out, nope. Cobb pulls a blaster on him and takes the armor for himself. Apparently, with the fall of Jabba on Tatooine, there's a new sheriff in town, folks. This Cobb Vanth. He's the new sheriff. He's going to take over ruling Tatooine. And how's he going to do it? Well, he's going to wear this fancy new Mandalorian armor that he found. So that's what's going on in the galaxy post Return of the Jedi. We get some idiot, possibly in Boba Fett's armor, who thinks he's the new shit in town on Tatooine. So, very, very just strange twists in the galaxy, right? Don't know if Boba Fett's alive. Don't know if that's really his armor or not. But questions to be had. So let's see. We get a interlude on Bespin, kind of how things are going on Cloud City. We go to Coruscant. We get kind of the underground take on the 1313, level 1313 on Coruscant. We find out that there's an ankle biter brigade. Now, this is kind of ridiculous, but it's basically young kids that are kind of almost like mini terrorists. They're kind of taking the fight of the rebels, the rebellion on their own, doing the work of the rebels. So they're kind of blowing things up and just kind of this little terrorist cell in a way. We actually go to Naboo, Theed, and we hear more about the Ankle Biter Brigade. We find two characters, Iggs and Streaks, and they're kind of waiting to get adopted, but they were once a part of the Ankle Biter Brigade, and they don't know if they're going to get adopted. So, little stories like that. We get Mon Mothma, and she starts to tell her attendants, her assistants, as they're walking through kind of the wreckage of the war, that her plans, once the war is confirmed to be over, that she plans to cut the military presence across the galaxy by 90%. That she doesn't want the empire they were fighting to, she doesn't want the New Republic to become the new empire, the new Republic, so they're trying hard to make the future uncertain, in the galaxy. We get another story about kind of a bus of recruits going to Imperial Stormtrooper Academy, and of course the academy's already been blown up, and these recruits don't really know where to go. They didn't really have anywhere to go to begin with. That's why they were being sent to the Stormtrooper Academy. So, okay, well, we can't go to the Stormtrooper Academy. I guess take us to the New Republic Academy. I don't know, fight for I'm gonna fight for one side or the other. I'm just, I don't have any. I'm a bad kid. I don't know where to go. So, all right. There's some other stories. I'm not gonna go into every single one of them, but I did want to kind of finish off with Jakku. And folks, of course, spoilers if you haven't realized by now, but Jakku, we get a character by the name of Corwin Ballast. He enters a bar on Jakku, so we know there's a bar on Jakku. We also know that Jakku is a desolate planet. Seems even more desolate than Tatooine, if that can even be possible. But it's a planet that the war hasn't really gotten to. It just seems like a real desolate outpost. Anyway, Corwin gets into a conversation with the bartender. He orders a can of, or a glass of this knockback nectar. Starts talking. Says that basically his wife, Corwin's wife and daughter, were killed in the war, and he just wants to go somewhere where the war hasn't touched. And we don't know who this Corwin character is. Is this someone we're going to meet in The Force Awakens? 30 years later. Is this a Max von Sydow character? Is it someone that's raising a Rey as if it was his own daughter? I don't know. But it's interesting. 30 years prior to The Force Awakens, Jakku has not been touched by the war. But we know from the teaser trailer that it has been, right? We see the dust, one of the Star Destroyers crashed on the planet. So, looks like things are going to be changing soon for Jakku, and maybe this poor Corwin Ballast isn't getting away from the war like he had planned. But that's our little brief kind of sneak peek at the future of Star Wars, folks. It's going to be an interesting ride, I think. We got plenty more books coming out, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more tidbits of what's going on. Maybe some more character name leaks in the coming months. We got like 3 months now. Interesting, but I thought that these interludes really did make Aftermath quite a fun read. Even though the main story didn't really lead us to The Force Awakens, I feel like some of these interludes got us a little bit further, got us a little bit more going on in the galaxy. Maybe some of these interludes will be continued in the next book. We know that Aftermath is a trilogy. Don't know what the next book is or when it's coming out, but I'm sure they're hard at work on it, folks. And yeah, that's my take. So, folks, I know we've spent a lot of time covering Aftermath. I thought it was an important book to cover. I thought there was a lot in it, and wanted to make sure I covered it granularly. Because that is the name of the show, folks. This is Delusions of Granular. I'm your host, Ron. Talk about Star Wars twice every week. And, that'll be it for Aftermath for a while. At least until the new book comes out. But, as always, folks, you can talk to us. You can find all of our episodes at delusionsofgranular.com. You can find us on iTunes or Stitcher. And leave us a message. You can always follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/SWDog, or on Twitter, SWDog77. Give us a call. It's 651-337-9364. That's 651-337-9364. And just drop us an email, too. SWDog77@gmail.com. All right, folks. Well, that concludes everything for Aftermath for now. Until next time, I'll be talking to you about something else, possibly another novel that came out on Force Friday. So, as always, folks, stay granular.
So here's your future. So here's your future. So here's your future.